Welcome to Cheater Confessions. Let's get started with today's story. I picked the boathouse because it didn't exist on paper. No lease, no power bill, no name. I paid in cash, patched the roof myself, and kept the lights off. No connection. It wasn't meant to be a home. It was meant to disappear behind me the second I stepped inside, a place to stop being seen. But when I opened the door that night, Bianca was already inside. She sat at the small table I'd built from salvaged wood, hands folded, back straight, like she'd been waiting for hours, like she belonged there, like this was her story too. "Roger," she said, calm and steady, "you weren't supposed to be the one there that night." The sound of her voice hit me harder than the words. I hadn't heard it in months, but it came back sharp, too familiar, too composed. I stared at her. "Then who was?" She didn't hesitate. "Elias." My stomach turned. Her name for him, spoken aloud, twisted something deep in me. She'd used that name the night I left, and now here it was again, walking straight back into the place I'd built to escape it. "It started as something stupid," she said, "something I thought I could control. But it changed. He changed, and I couldn't get out. You could have told me. You left before I could." "Because I heard you," I said. "I heard you on the phone with him. You said enough." She looked down. "I know. And I know I lost you the second you walked out that door. But I still need you to understand. He didn't just use me. He used you too." I didn't move. I didn't speak. She reached into her bag and pulled out a thin folder, slid it across the table between us. I opened it. Account screenshots, transaction logs, authorization forms. My name was on 3 of them. "He used my devices," she said. "My access. He started forging transfers days after you left. He knew how you'd react. He counted on it. Once you were gone, he moved money through your name. Page after page, password resets, routing numbers, time-stamped requests I never made. Elias hadn't just stolen from her. He'd tried to erase me. If I had stayed, if I had forgiven her, I would have walked straight into the trap. 4 months earlier, I walked into my own house like a stranger. I'd come off the job early. Bianca always left a light on for me, our one small routine. That night, only one lamp was lit, the one in the bedroom. The rest of the house sat in darkness. There was no music playing, no clatter of dishes or humming from the kitchen. Just silence. And then her voice. Low, soft. The way she spoke when she was trying to be sweet. I froze in the hallway, just outside the bedroom door. Through the narrow crack, I could hear every word. "You can come over," she whispered. "He's still at work, and I can't wait to be with you, Elias." My hand tightened on the doorknob. I didn't need to hear more. That was all it took. No guessing, no hope, no second thoughts. I pushed the door open. She was sitting on the edge of the bed, fully dressed, phone glowing in her hand. She looked up and smiled like I was home 10 minutes early from work, not walking in on the end of everything. "You're early," she said. No surprise, not guilt, just a line she'd rehearsed. I looked at her, really looked, and I saw it all. The practiced calm, the detachment, the hollow where the truth should have been. I didn't answer. I didn't ask questions I already knew the answers to. I didn't yell. I didn't cry. I just looked at her face one last time, like a photograph I'd never look at again, then turned and walked out of the life I thought was mine. I didn't sleep that night. I didn't stop. I drove until the sky changed color. By morning, I was gone. No message, no warning. Some betrayals are too complete for words. I left without a note, an explanation, or a fight. My clothes were still in the closet, my badge on the counter, and my name in the mailbox. I knew if I opened my mouth, I'd say something I couldn't take back. So I didn't. I drove for hours. No destination, no plan. Just a string of highway exits and empty gas stations. I tossed my phone, didn't tell a soul where I was going. I paid for everything in cash. Motel rooms, used clothes, burner phones. Disappearing, it turned out, wasn't hard if you were already halfway invisible. In the days that followed, I cut every line that could lead back to me. Bank accounts closed. Social media wiped clean. The phone number I'd used for nearly a decade vanished with a SIM card I snapped in half and dropped in a truck stop trash can. I didn't just leave Bianca. I left Roger Whitman, the husband, the friend, the man who believed loyalty was stronger than temptation. That man didn't exist anymore. The world kept spinning, but I stepped off. For the first time in years, I existed in silence. I didn't check news feeds. I didn't wonder what Bianca was doing. I didn't think about Elias, at least not by name. But I thought about that moment in the hallway. Her voice, her softness, the way she said his name like it belonged to her. That was the echo I carried with me. Not anger, not heartbreak, just that voice. I thought I had buried every trace of who I was. But the thing about ghosts is, they don't need permission to find you. And somehow, she did. Not with lawyers, not with letters, not with guilt. Just by showing up, uninvited, sitting calmly at the table in the one place I thought was mine alone. Bianca had found the ghost, and she wanted to bring him back to life. After I saw the folder she'd brought, my name forged, my accounts touched, I asked her one question. How did you even get all this? She pulled out a folded piece of paper, a name, scribbled in black ink. Nate Rowe, she said. He found me. Said he knew Elias. Said I wasn't the only one who got burned. You trust him? I don't know, she said. But he has more. Files. Audio. A full trail. He wants to meet tonight. I nodded. Didn't ask how much she'd told him. Didn't ask what else she was hiding. We drove in silence to a diner off the highway. The kind of place where time forgot the menu and no one asked questions. It was late enough that the booths were empty and the lights too bright. The only other customer was already waiting, alone nursing a black coffee. Nate Rowe. He didn't stand when we entered, just looked up, eyes sharp but tired, like a man who had seen too much and expected very little. His jacket was worn, his fingers restless around the coffee cup. I slid into the booth across from him. Bianca sat beside me, stiff, her hands clasped too tightly. Rowe reached into his coat and placed a flash drive on the table. He did the same to my sister, he said. Charmed her, drained her, framed her. She didn't survive it. I said nothing. She wasn't the only one, he added, but she was the one that broke me. Bianca cleared her throat softly. Why come to us? Rowe turned his gaze to me. Because you're still breathing. Because you walked away before he could finish what he started. That folder she gave you, just the start. This, he tapped the flash drive, is the rest. I glanced at it, small, unassuming, but I already knew what was on it would scream. Transfers, voice clips, ledger entries, messages, timelines, Rowe said. Everything Elias tried to bury is on here, including how he used your name, your authorizations, your badge numbers. He was building a web around you. He forged everything? I asked. Used her access, your old credentials, even your photo on a few ID forms. If you'd stayed, it would have all stuck to you. Bianca shifted beside me, her voice low. Will this clear him? Rowe nodded. It clears both of you. But more importantly, it exposes Elias. No shadows left to hide in. I stared at the drive. All the ways Elias had tried to burn my life down, and now reduced to a few megabytes. All the destruction he almost pulled off, sitting silent in a plastic shell no bigger than a thumb. It wasn't just evidence. It was the final match. I stared at Bianca across the table. Not with hatred, not with forgiveness. Just distance. She looked smaller than I remembered. Not physically, but in presence. Like the weight of everything she'd carried had pressed her down 1 inch at a time. You weren't just unfaithful, I said. You let someone into our life who almost erased me. Her eyes didn't fight back. She didn't defend herself. She nodded once, slow, like she'd already rehearsed hearing those words and had no response left. I know, she said. And I believed her. She wasn't asking to be absolved. Not anymore. She wasn't trying to explain away what she did, or what it cost. I think, in her own way, she knew the moment had passed, that nothing she could say would ever reach back far enough to fix it. But this she could help end. I looked back at the flash drive sitting on the table, still untouched. A piece of evidence and a weapon, and it had my name written all over it, literally. I picked it up, slipped it into my jacket pocket, and stood. We're done here, I said. She didn't follow. She just watched me go. By morning, I'd sent the files. No note, no explanation, no return address. Just the truth, forwarded to state regulators, federal investigators, the compliance team at her old firm, and the task force that had been tracking financial exploitation cases across 3 states. It didn't take long. Within 48 hours, Elias Moretti's name was everywhere. Charges, freezes, seizures. He was no longer the man behind a curtain. He was front page, handcuffed, and cornered. The predator who used charm and stolen logins to destroy lives had finally been caught in the open. He hadn't just lost access to money. He lost the shadows. He lost the game. And somewhere, in a quiet booth off a quiet highway, I'd taken back what he tried to steal. Bianca never asked me to come back, and I didn't offer. We didn't have a dramatic final conversation or a long apology across the table. We didn't stand in the rain or argue in the driveway. We met in a plain room, signed the divorce papers, and left without shaking hands. It was over. It had been over for a long time. She didn't cry. Neither did I. There weren't any final words that could have meant more than what we'd already said, or failed to say. The silence between us was no longer sharp. It was just empty. A week after that, I heard through someone I used to work with that Bianca had lost her job. The compliance department didn't accuse her directly of anything illegal, but the optics were enough. Her name had been in too many emails, her login tied to too many access points. She hadn't been indicted, but she'd been tainted, enough to make her unemployable in the world she once thrived in. The same people who used to call her brilliant stopped replying to her messages. The friends who stood beside her at our wedding unfollowed her one by one. Her fall wasn't loud. It wasn't explosive. It was quiet, systematic, the kind that doesn't make headlines but makes you invisible. She wasn't ruined, but she was marked. And I think that's what haunted her most. I never asked her where she went afterward, whether she stayed in the city or left altogether. I didn't check. I didn't look her up. It wasn't spite. I just no longer felt connected to her story. She'd chosen her path, and I'd walked away from it. I sold the boathouse. That chapter belonged to a man who had been hiding, a man who built walls instead of choosing direction, a man who let silence be his only defense. I wasn't that man anymore, and I had no use for the place that man called safe. Now I rent something small near the edge of town. A modest place, not much bigger than the boathouse, but different in every way that matters. No hidden entrances, no broken beams or blacked-out windows. It has power, a name on the lease, and my initials on the mailbox. I leave the lights on. Some nights I sit by the window and watch the street. Nothing dramatic ever happens. Just the occasional car, a dog walker, wind through the hedges. But there's peace in it. A rhythm I never knew I needed. I don't keep a photo of Bianca. Not because I hate her. I don't. What I feel for her now is harder to name. Something between understanding and indifference. She was a chapter, one I've already read, underlined, and closed. People always talk about closure like it's something someone gives you, a conversation, an apology, a reunion. But I learned something else. Closure isn't something you wait for. It's something you walk toward. Bianca spent months chasing the shadow of who I used to be, following whispers, tracing my patterns, showing up in the one place I thought she'd never find. But when she finally did, she didn't find the man she remembered. She found someone else, someone quieter, harder, not cruel, but changed. She came looking for forgiveness, or maybe clarity, but I had already made peace with the past. I had already let go of the weight I used to carry, the betrayal, the anger, the hollow space where trust used to live. And the truth is, I didn't need to be saved. I just needed to stop running. Elias lost everything. Bianca lost almost as much, and I lost the life I thought I wanted. But in the space left behind, I found something else. Not redemption, not revenge, just freedom. The kind you only get when you've been broken all the way down and choose to start again, not as the man people remember, but as the man you finally recognize in the mirror. The one who chose to live. Thank you for watching.